Good afternoon and welcome to another On-Track Audio Angela-Gilbert Yeung video. A video I actually wasn't expecting to do this afternoon because I've come down here to help prototype some new speaker cables. And mission accomplished, but what I wasn't expecting was to see my new preamplifier is almost ready to go. And this is a beauty. This is called the C312 preamplifier. And it's been years in the making. And I would like to think that it's almost entirely unique in the audio world. I'll explain why when I go through the control set here. But this is a superb sounding preamplifier, and I'm going to have an open house in a few weeks back at the shop. This will be a star feature of the open house now because it'll be ready to go by then. Actually, that's what, 10 days, right? 10 days away. My goodness, time flies. So, C312 preamplifier. Now, you'll notice we have a number of knobs and switches on the front panel. All right, let me go through them with you. This one's fairly obvious. This is a selector switch for the inputs. We actually have 5 inputs. We have balanced 1, balanced 2, and when you move the selector switch over to single-ended, we now have 3 single-ended switches that we can throw. So you can choose single-ended 1, single-ended 2, or single-ended 3. So a total, I mean, you could, of course, run 2 inputs at the same time if you wanted to. I can't see why you'd want to do that, but who knows, right? Now, we get to the interesting stuff, and this is the thing that makes this probably the most unique preamplifier anywhere right now, because we have tone controls. But they're not treble, mid, and bass tone controls. So actually, those are frequency tone controls. These are actual tone controls. And we have 3 devices here. They're all gain stages. This is a gain stage that we call warm. This is a gain stage that we call tube. And this is a gain stage that we call solid state. Now, these 2 are fairly obvious. All right. What we have here is we don't have a tube in the preamplifier. There's no tube in here. What we have is a simulated tube circuit in there. This is something that we've been using for probably about 4 or 5 years, and it's very effective. It's got the upside of having some tube warmth without the downside of having tube. What's the best way to put it? Well, when tubes die or when tubes start to fade, that never happens here. You don't have to roll tubes. You don't have to worry about blowing a tube. You don't have to be searching for that magic tube all the time. You can control it. This is the beautiful part. You can control how much tube. So let me go back here. I'm going to shut everything down, and I'm going to start twiddling knobs so people can see the process. This is the warm circuit, and we use this as a gain stage to supply volume to these other 2 gain stages. So this one's actually set up in front of these 2 stages. What we can use this one to do, it's kind of neat. We can use this one to supply a fair amount of gain. We can actually use this one to drive the tube circuit into saturation if you want that real kind of floppy tube sound that you would get from maybe a bigger tube like a 300B. You can use that to simulate that with this control and this control. So this control works on its own as a front-end master. These controls work as gain stages to provide different flavors of gain, okay? This is a tube gain. This is a solid state gain. So if you want more of a tubey sound, you would switch the control over this way. If you want more of a solid state sound, you would roll off the tube gain stage and roll on the solid state gain stage. Okay? Now, it's important to note, especially with this warmth control. Okay? We were talking about how to explain this earlier, and the best way to explain it is very simply this. We gave you a whole shaker of salt here, okay? But most people like a pinch of salt, okay? So please don't feel that you have to use, if you're using an amplifier like this, the trick is use as much as you enjoy. Okay? Just because the whole shaker of salt is there, you don't have to put it all on the steak. Okay? You can have a pinch, or you can have a couple pinches, or lots of pinches, but don't feel that you have to use all the salt in one meal. Okay? Because that's just not necessary. Unless you like things salty. In that case, go ahead. The same with the other two controls. I mean, again, these are used to mix and match and find the sound for your music, for your room, and for your speakers. And no two people will want these the same way. Okay, it's just, that's not going to happen for the most part. I mean, there are so many different types of speakers and so many different amplifiers and so many different ideas of what music is supposed to sound like, that these knobs, there is no magic setting for everybody. There's a magic setting for you. Okay, so that's how they're supposed to be used. Warmth as an overall drive control for as a gain stage. Tube for how much tube sound you want from a simulated tube gain stage, and solid state depending on how much solid state gain you want in there. Generally speaking, this will be a little bit crisper and punchier. This will be a little bit warmer and rounder, and this will drive these two to the proper level. Okay, and it's really important. You might think, oh well, it's just another volume. No, where you put this one particularly is of utmost importance with this preamplifier. Okay, this one gauges how much initial gain is going into these two gain stages, and any recording engineer will tell you that the best sound is always achieved by careful attention to gain staging. Okay, that's why this has been built. It's not for someone that just wants a volume control. If you want just a volume control, we have other products that do that. This is advanced. This is advanced stuff. It sounds wickedly good, but it takes a little bit of time to get to understand it. Okay, on the back, it's a lot more conventional back here. Here are our inputs, RCA inputs, single-ended inputs here, two pairs of balanced inputs here. This is really cool. A line out that's not volume controlled in any way, so that you can run that right to a headphone amplifier or another device like that. But this is mainly to be used for a headphone amplifier in case you want to listen with headphones and have a nice headphone amplifier set up at home. That way you can use it completely. This is an RCA line out. This is a pair of balanced outputs for the preamplifier. Actually, the normal model, the universal model, will only probably have one set of those. I like to have two just for the flexibility. We have the ground lift switch here, but I love the icon. I love the broken switch here and the switch down there that tells you without having to use language what this is for. You have to be able to read the fact that that's a ground symbol, obviously. And then a little bit more interesting over here, obviously the input for the separate power supply, because this has a fairly big power supply in it. We've got about 1.32 farads, or 1,320,000 microfarads of power supply for this device, which is pretty hefty. But it's going to get heftier, because what we have here are two sockets for, well, they could be used for a couple things. You could absolutely 100% plug SP capacitor packs into these. I have a pair of them back at the shop that I'm going to plug in, but the real cool thing about this is that one of these can be used to plug in to the SP capacitor pack jack on a power amplifier. And doing that, what they can do, A, is they can share a power supply, and B, they can synchronize the power supplies. And that's a topic I'm not prepared to get into today because it's pretty complicated, but the fact of the matter is, if you can synchronize your power supply between a preamplifier and a power amplifier, sound-wise, that's actually a pretty big deal and a cool thing to do. So another thing that makes this a very, very unique device. Anyway, that's about all I have to say for it for now. It still needs some touch-up work before it comes home with me. to the shop, which will be in about a week's time, or maybe a little bit more time than that, maybe about 10 days. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me through email, entracteaudio@rogers.com, entracteaudio.com. And again, this is the Angela-Gilbert Yeung C312 preamplifier. You know, come and check it out. I already know it sounds good. It's not broken in yet, but it sounds great right now. It's going to sound even better in about a week's time. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a great day.